Who needs the Vulcan High Command? This episode has Mr. Shran. The Enterprise detected some chemosite. Even so, things don't feel quite right. So, are the Andorians truly trustworthy? Or are their intentions simply topsy-turvy? I'm Josh.
I'm Justin.
And this is From There to Here. Okay, this week's episode is Season 3, Episode 13. It's called Proving Ground, and according to IMDb, this is what it's about. Enterprise has found the location of the testing site of the Xindi weapon and gets some rather unexpected help. What do you think this is rated? Or did you already see this last week?
If I did, I don't remember. I just remember that it was listed as top rated. So
it's got to be
in the 7s.
Oh, it's got to be in the 8s if it is.
Does it?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Then all right. Then I would say it's
8.5.
Yeah, I'll say 8.5. 8.3.
8.4.
Okay.
we were both both off by one. Okay. So what do you have for background info?
Jeffrey Combs, who of course plays Shran, had previously made guest appearances on both Deep Space Nine and Voyager. Producer Manny Cotto said he hoped to make Combs a regular on the show had the series been renewed for a 5th season. Shran's antennae are prosthetics that are moved by remote control. Combs and the puppeteer discussed the scenes in advance so they could work out in tandem. We have created slowly this little bit of language, end quote, which can reflect the character's mood, speech, and actions. The episode is directed by veteran Star Trek franchise television director David Livingston, who directed over 60 episodes of Trek at this period. Wow.
Well, that information you gave us explains that one moment that we found to be very, very fascinating at the beginning of the episode. We did it without even mentioning it out loud. We both kind of looked at each other and then we said, did you see what I just saw? And then it was a moment where it just came back from the opening credit sequence and Shran is in Archer's quarters and he's walking under some kind of roof, the ceiling. He's walking under the ceiling. There's some
the support beams.
Yeah. And we saw his antennae look like move before it hit there, like it was anticipating.
Yeah.
And we had to rewind a couple of times to make sure that maybe it wasn't the antennae being knocked down by hitting it, or if it reacted before and it reacted before.
Yeah.
Or they reacted before.
They sensed it and ducked. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a nice little bit there.
Yeah.
That's a big investment. I'll always go back to that. The investment of the antenna, the fact that they're radio controlled clearly.
Right.
So they always have to have these operators on the side doing for what reason other than it just looks, in the original series, they didn't move.
No.
But I mean, do you find it distracting that they do? Or
no,
it kind of gives them character,
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't have thought twice if they didn't move.
Mm-hmm.
Although I would have probably sat there and said, they could have made those move,
Yeah.
But I do think if they're overdone, then they would be distracting, but I don't think they are. Like that movement under the support beam was subtle, blink and you miss it, but it was lovely.
Yeah, they're expressive like hands. There's it's body language that I'm guessing that there's some more forethought going into it than just making them move in a certain direction. Maybe they mapped out some kind of language for them.
They probably did. I'm sure they probably equated it to kind of like a dog, a dog's tail,
Maybe.
If they're angry, they'll do this, and something. I'm sure there's some general things.
Something that's generally seen as cooperative or maybe aggressive. Something like that.
Yeah.
Well, this was a good episode. Would I have considered it to be top rated? No, I wouldn't have. I just would have considered this to be pretty good.
Okay.
I think that top rating is probably a bit much. What do you think?
Well, as far as the absolute filler that we've been getting, I would say yes, it's a top rated episode.
Oh yeah, of course. Well, I mean, yes, if you want to qualify it like that.
If we're putting it in context, yes.
Well, in the context of the full season so far, yes.
It's a standout. But
yes, it is. But
as for just a well-written standalone-ish episode, I mean, it's a good episode.
Well, do you think it, like I just said, my criticism, do you think it is worthy of that moniker of top rated?
No.
Okay.
No.
That's what I thought.
I agree with you. It's a good episode.
Yeah.
Top rated, is it the best of both worlds of theirs? No.
Mm-hmm.
But a good episode. Any time you have Jeffrey Combs.
Well, yeah,
he's going to elevate the episode.
As a qualifier, yeah, he's always going to bring up the episode.
Any episode, I don't think he's been in an episode that he does not make
that he doesn't
better.
Elevate in some way. Yeah.
Like you couldn't go, boy, this episode would be just fine if it was a Vulcan guy or whatever. Nope.
Mm-hmm.
It's him.
Mm-hmm.
He makes it work. He knows exactly what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, the writers and the producers, they know what they want Shran to be, but it's up to Jeffrey Combs to make it happen. And
couldn't you say that about every actor, though?
Well, yes, but I would say that there are many instances where I'm sure the actor was told, okay, this is what we're going for. This is what we want you to do. And they'll watch it and like, oh yeah, he's getting there. But it's probably, it must be difficult as the director, the producer of the show, to say to someone, in this case, Jeffrey Combs, we want you to, outside of all the dialogue, can you give us something that shows Shran is kind of a guy of character and he doesn't like this and he doesn't want to have to betray Archer and do this and this. Can you do that? And they'll go, yeah, I can do that. And then they do it. But because the director and the producer and the writers, because they have told him that, they know what to expect. They almost might fill in the blanks themselves. Whereas we're not given that. We know because of his performance, that's what's going on inside Shran's head. And I'm sure there are many instances where an actor did a fine job, but didn't necessarily get all the way there. And that, I have no doubt, is absolutely due to Jeffrey Combs being just a badass at what he does. And he is just so good at what he does.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about the guy, now that I think about it.
I was, as the episode was playing and we were watching to Paul, I'm always on constipation alert with her. And I was watching her deliver some of her dialogue. I don't remember what she was talking about at the top of the episode, but I thought, okay, like there's a good, this is a really, I think a good example of the point I'm making. We know that Vulcans are supposed to be a certain thing, right? And they don't have emotions, but they do have emotions and all that stuff. And how hard it must be and we know how hard it is to convey that, just like it's really hard to play an android. So Blaylock, I really do love her as T'Pol. I do, but she doesn't always get there because it is remarkably hard to do.
Yeah, and I thought to myself, that point.
No, I know. I'm not trying to dig at her right now. I'm just saying whatever shot it was where she was delivering this dialogue, in my head as it played, I thought, oh, it occurred to me what one of the many things that Nimoy did that made him somehow the X factor. And one of the things that Nimoy did was, if you think about many, many moments in TOS or even the movies, whenever there was a scene where he was confronted with emotion, or the possibility of having an emotional reaction, he almost delighted in showing everyone around him, no, see, I'm not feeling anything, and it was almost like a wink to them and to us, but he wasn't afraid to confront it. So I don't know, like I know it sounds kind of abstract, but he had this magical way of conveying someone who you knew had these deep emotions in him, but was constantly suppressing them. They'd pop up, and he'd back them up. He was always doing that. And especially if someone called him on it. Oh, no, see, you don't understand. I was this because of this, and that's very logical, so F you. And he could do that in such a way, because that's basically emotion, because he's like fighting because he's butthurt, but he was always able to do it in a way where you believed his Vulcanness. And he did that with his face, however that's achieved. And I think that's what Shran does, or what Jeffrey Combs does. He has that magical ability to make whatever's going on in his brain read on his face. It's fucking magic. Blaylock, I'd say about 50% of the time can do it. Part of it is just her natural face. Like she has that otherworldly look. So I almost think, Blaylock, if I could have given Blaylock a note as the series started to course correct her a little bit, to steer her away out of the constipation, would be to play her. I would play her a clip of Christopher Reeve when he was talking about playing Superman. And someone said, how do you play Superman? How do you do that? Because you're so convincing and all that. And he said, I don't play Superman. That's what I do. He said, I let the suit do the work. I'm just present. But I just stand tall. I don't pose. I just am. And let the audience fill in Superman. They cast my face. They think I look right. So as long as I'm just there, I should be Superman. He never tried to act like Superman. He acted as Clark. He was doing Bringing Up Baby. But as Superman, and I always remembered that he said he never tried to be Superman. He let the suit be Superman. And I think that's where people have gone wrong in the past. But that would be my sole note to Blaylock, which is don't try to be more Vulcan. Just be, But anyway, I mean, Combs, what can you say? Is there any performance you've seen him give where he is just not, the show or movie is not better because of him?
Anything that I can think of off the top of my head, it always stands out.
Yeah.
Even if he was in admittedly some mediocre DS9 episodes. I'm not talking about when he was
not as Weyoun,
but when he played smaller one-off characters.
Yeah. But he was still
he was still interesting in those scenes.
Yeah.
So that's just, why they stand out. Even in, like I just said, it's mediocre overall. Yeah. Something you said struck me about how maybe it's something about his face, and that because you brought up Leonard Nimoy, and that reminded me of Star Trek II and its commentary when Nicholas Meyer had said about Ricardo Montalban, and
it's funny as you're saying this.
What
you said? Something you said struck me, and as I was talking, looking at you, I thought he could not be more uninterested in what I'm saying.
Sometimes I'm wondering, like, how long is Justin going to keep talking?
I know, and I can read that on your face, and I was like trying to tell myself, get there.
When's he going to make his point? I was like, because I don't know where he's going right now.
You really need to give me hand signals, man.
Well, no, I mean, I've learned that eventually you'll get there. So I just have to wait it out.
Wrap it
up. He had said something about Ricardo Montalban's performance, and he had said that some actors have closed faces and some actors have open faces.
Yeah, I remember.
He had said that about Ricardo Montalban, that when you look at him, you can see the wheels turning in his head.
Yeah. I was thinking about that too, but I couldn't remember where we heard it.
Well, that must have been where.
Yeah.
So maybe that's something.
He wasn't talking about Shatner?
No, he was talking about Ricardo
Really?
Montalban.
Okay. Okay. I don't.
You think Shatner has an open or closed face? Because actually his criticism of Shatner wasn't about it being open or closed. It was about, he had said there's actors and then there are movie stars. And he had said Shatner was a movie star.
He had to wear him out.
Right.
To have him stop performing and just be present.
Yeah, the line was, here it comes. And then he kept saying, like, here it comes. And he's like, no, do it again. And then he got bored and just said, here it comes.
That's it. Old. He could have been like, what are you, Stanley Kubrick? Tell me what you want. I can't tell you. If I tell you, you're going to try and do it. And I don't want you to try and do it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is. It could be something about that. If it is something their face naturally telegraphs. Or it could be something about just we are responding purely to a visual aesthetic. And I'm not talking about them being
blue.
No, I'm not. Blue, yes, but I'm not talking about a person being attractive, right?
Oh yeah.
Like it doesn't matter. Like you can take a guy or a girl, and they don't have to be traditionally good looking. No, but there's maybe something, a visual aesthetic that is attractive in a way that draws your eye in, and you can't stop looking at them. You enjoy watching them talk or do things for some reason. It's purely aesthetic. There's no words I can apply to it.
No, I think I get what you're saying. I don't know if you remember many moons ago. I remember I don't know if you were there or not, having a conversation with our mother, who is a, to her deathbed Paul Simon fan.
I was like, what are you going to call her? I was like,
a Simonite.
Okay.
And I remember, actually, it wasn't even Paul Simon we were talking about. It was Garfunkel. And because she has seen Garfunkel live, and she's made comments about his voice, how his voice just, it perfectly captures her. And I remember having the conversation wondering, I certainly appreciate his voice. He has a wonderful singing voice, but is there some sort of magic that happens where the auditory receptors in her ear connected to her brain somehow make the frequencies that come from his mouth more magical to her than it does to us, even though I totally appreciate him? I just wonder, so to extend that logic, you and I are both, we love Shran and Jeffrey Combs whenever he shows up in anything. What is it about him that just the second he's on, I'm like, yes.
Well, isn't that what I was trying to say? Like, we can't pinpoint it. We don't know.
Well, I mean, you were saying that. So I'm just curious if you even have an idea. What is it about the guy that we both really love and enjoy? Scott Bakula, no doubt. But Jeffrey Combs, yes. I feel like is like something different. And we could probably find various actors throughout movies and TV that we go, yeah, I love this guy, but man, somehow this one just every time.
Well, there's something interesting in, I think, the way he looks. He's
arguably,
he's an interesting looking guy.
He is.
And his mannerisms are not odd, but they're interesting. And the way he talks, it's interesting. Even when you see him in bit parts, like really bit parts, and like I think he had a bit part in Robot Jocks or something.
Did he really?
Yeah, like a one scene. Like whatever he turns up in, he makes it interesting in some way. Like I think just because of the way he is.
I guess he's
kind of. I think he's kind of just an odd guy. Like if you, speaking of something you had said earlier about him being a regular, if there was a fifth season, I remember in the, I think it was one of the first episodes of what was their podcast called? The
Shuttlepod Show.
The Shuttlepod Show. They had on Jeffrey Combs, and he when he was just being himself, he's a little he speaks kind of oddly. He's a little strange.
It's a quirky kind of guy.
Yeah, it's a bit, the way he talks isn't, even when he was being casual, it was a little, it was just not something you normally run into. And I was like, okay, maybe he's just normally like that. But yeah, something he had said was that in that interview is that he was upset that he wasn't a regular. They didn't ask him to be a regular when they were casting the show initially.
Right.
That bothered him because he'd been working with them for so long. He's like, hey, come on. Haven't I proven myself by now? Like, bring me on as a regular. Come on.
Yeah. That's a tough one. I mean, the way the show was designed in season 1, there wasn't really a place for Shran.
Well, no, I meant like before they even considered him as Shran, just a regular on the show. He could play a human character. That's what I'm saying.
That's a pickle, isn't it?
Is that too much of a good thing?
I think it just might be, because unfortunately he is so good. I think he would just step all over everyone, because I don't care who else is in the room when he is there. Yeah. I just want him to be the highlight. He is, I wouldn't.
Well, they could have made him a regular in the sense of maybe like Garrick on DS9. They gave you just enough.
Or even as Wayun. He wasn't in every episode, but he was essentially a regular. He was a semi-regular, like Garrick was.
I guess so.
But by the the 5th season or so, he was pretty much there almost every other episode. But I don't know. I mean, part of me would love that. But then who on earth would he play? I don't want him to play a Malcolm Reed. Like, that's not interesting enough. Now, if they said, we want you to play the engineer, but
well, that's probably why they have
play it quirky.
Well, that's probably why he's always playing an alien.
Yeah,
because he is kind of an odd guy, like non-conventional, whatever you want to call it. Odd has a negative connotation to it, but that's why he's usually playing aliens. But I mean, when he's playing a human character, like he's look at like in the Frighteners, he's weird. Like,
I know he's weird as all hell. And he even plays. He does a lot of voice acting because he has a really good voice that lends itself to characters. And he played. There was a character. What's his name? The Question on the Justice League animated show. He played a character called The Question, who was faceless. He wore a mask that literally just was blank, a blank face, and he questioned everything. He was paranoid, about the world, and like that is so perfect for Jeffrey Combs. Right. And can you hear his voice going? I can't wear this. I can't use that soap because it has mind controlling technology. I did this because of this. And the federal government is after me because of this. But yet he was completely crazy, but he speaks with such conviction that you don't think of him as crazy. You're actually kind of sympathetic to the torture that he feels in his head. And that's just what even without seeing his face, his voice was able to convey that. And, I think part of it is just his face or his voice. It's just natural, but also I do think he is a talented actor. And whatever, like the ending of this episode where Shran essentially has to betray Archer. It's there. You can tell he doesn't like it. And that could have been overplayed or underplayed, but he played it just right. And we know what he's thinking. He doesn't want to do this. When Archer punched him and he falls back in his chair and he goes, take him to an escape pod. That whole shot's just sitting on Shran. And that was because they knew Jeffrey Combs could tell you what he's thinking without him having to say it. And it's absolutely understood.
Well, I think in that moment in particular, it's not just, yes, I had the same feeling. Yes, you can tell what he's thinking, but a lot of that is like what you said about Christopher Reeve. Oh, the suit does the work, right? I let the suit do the work. When we look at Shran in that moment, our minds are filling in a lot.
We want to think that's what he's thinking.
We want to think that's what he is. Yes, exactly. So we're kind of projecting that onward.
Interesting.
And I've heard anecdotes, from other directors, and I can't remember what movie it was. It was an older movie where it was like an ending shot or something like that, and this director told the actress, like, I just want you to look out onto the water, and I don't want you to say anything. Just look out. And she's like, well, what do I do? She's like, don't do anything. Just look. Like the audience will fill in all the gaps. Just look out at the water. and it works. Whatever scene that was, whatever movie, it worked.
Well, I know what you mean. And I think that's probably an example of genius directing, understanding how the camera works and what the audience does. I've yet to show it to you, but there's I know what scene you're talking about.
The
Long Goodbye.
Yeah.
The Long Good Friday. The Long Goodbye. That's The Long Good Friday, where at the last shot,
which I've seen pop up recently.
Is that right?
Well, let me finish. I've seen pop up on YouTube recently through suggestions.
You know why? Because your phone listened to us talk about it.
It could have been that, but if you watch things that are nostalgia based, and you'll get recommended other things that are nostalgia, and that's been popping up on like
hidden gems of the 80s. Yeah, I saw that too. Just recently.
And I'm like, hey, that movie, that's weird.
Yeah.
But I do think our phones are listeing to us.
They're 100%.
Or some other.
my
something
Google
else.
page news suggestions are always things that I've just recently talked about.
Mm-hmm.
But that his ending shot, I don't know if it's the last shot of the movie, but the last time we see him, you see the whole movie play on his face. And the director did the same thing. He said, this is going to be a long shot and I want you to play it. And he said, well, what am I going to do? He said, no one wants that close up of me. Like, it's not going to work. He said, no one's going to know what I'm thinking. And he said, listen, just be the character. You know what just happened. Play it out in your head. Trust me, it's going to read. And Bob Hoskins was like, no, it's not. It's not going to work. But he did it. And afterwards, Hoskins ate his words and said, my God, you can tell what I'm thinking. That's amazing. His mind was blown. You know, he had a lesson in performance art and how that does read, you know, and I think it's just amazing, you know?
Yeah. I mean, we're kind of getting way off topic here.
I know.
I know we've kind of touched on the episode here and there, mostly through Jeffrey Combs.
As it should be.
Yeah. I mean, overall, you know, if you want to find a different entry point into the episode, I mean, maybe we can start with that. This actually is a consequential episode.
Yeah.
In the Xindi arc, like it doesn't feel. And you put the nail right on the head. It feels like we haven't had one of those. I don't remember what last week's episode was. Oh, it was Chosen Realm.
Right.
What's that one about? I can't remember. What was it? I mean, I literally can't remember. What was it?
It was about the group of people that worship the spheres as gods.
Oh, right.
The heretics, whatever bullshit.
The heretic pilgrims.
Yeah.
Or something.
All that.
Yeah, that was like just forgetful.
No, this one thankfully progressed the plot.
Yeah.
And it's still, you and I will never understand why the writers chose to do what they did, where they alerted Earth that they were going to attack them by having a weapon.
Yeah, so that
was only somewhat working.
So they show us in this episode that they're testing the Xindi weapon, right? Yeah. That's supposed to, they're getting ready. It's a prototype. That's what they call it. At least that's what Archer called it. They're testing it to see its destructive force. And they're testing it on a moon of some planet. And like I said to you, I'm like, well, they're testing this one. Why didn't they test the one they sent to Earth? I mean, that does seem kind of stupid, but maybe there isn't a way we can't know that. I mean, follow? Like if they did test the Earth weapon that was sent, but maybe it malfunctioned.
And you're saying that's what could have been happening in the you know, the end of the second season where they did that?
You mean when Earth was attacked?
Yeah.
Yes. Like maybe they did test it and then it malfunctioned when it went there. Maybe they didn't intend just to give Earth a little scratch.
No. I know you asked about that, and I don't think that was the case. I think that weapon did exactly what it was supposed to do, which tactically makes zero sense. Why would they? And I think the problem is they could have done that. They could have had it be where the weapon didn't work, but then there would have needed to be a lot of dialogue between the Xindi going, it didn't work.
Maybe there will be lip service later on, and
they should have given it already.
Well, maybe later they will.
They would have given that in the first episode of the season, where they go, that weapon.
I agree, that would have been preferable. Then maybe when Archer runs into,
then it's all gone. We don't have to worry about
the lead guy of the council.
Yeah,
whoever it is.
Too little, too late. Even if they say that, it's just ridiculous. It makes no sense.
Okay, well, that aside, I mean, this episode was quality.
Yeah,
it was. I was never bored.
No.
Jeffrey Combs, not to bring up him again, but he was in a lot of the episode.
Yeah.
So he drove a lot of it.
And I did enjoy the, I guess, is that his engineer?
Oh, the woman?
The girl? Yeah.
Yeah.
What's her name? What's her character?
I think she's an Andorian of many trades. At least that's the way she portrayed herself.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Let me see. Talus. Lieutenant Talus.
No, that was
I think
fun.
we see her again.
I think we do.
She was familiar, like more than one episode.
No, we do see her more than, or have we seen her already?
No, I don't think we've seen her already.
I think we've seen a female Andorian.
We have, and it was Kalar.
Susie Blackson?
Yeah.
Oh.
But she betrayed Shran. She didn't betray her people, she betrayed him.
Oh.
And went against his order or something. And I thought that's what this girl did. But then I remembered, wait, you're mixing that up. That was Susie Plaxton's character.
Right. Yeah.
But then I thought, wait a minute. We do see her again. Maybe she does the same thing. Maybe I am remembering right. I won't know. We won't know until we see her again.
I can't remember.
But I'm almost positive.
I think
we see
that
her
woman.
again.
I think she dies.
Really?
I think that character dies.
Then maybe I am just mixing that with.
I could be wrong, but I think that character dies later on.
Yeah, I don't know. But I enjoyed her character
because they Shran has something going on with her. Romantically, there's something. They're involved in some way.
Really?
I'm pretty sure.
Because I kind of felt like she was being a little flirty with Malcolm.
Well, she was, but that was just to
get the job
to
done.
get his defenses down.
All right.
But I think Shran I think that there's something going on with it. I think in the 4th season
because he did with Susie Plaxton's character. They had a thing.
He had a thing with Susie Plaxton.
Yes. They had a romantic thing.
Okay, then maybe I'm getting it mixed up with that.
I feel like I feel like we're both mixing.
Okay, well, I still think that Talus, that character, dies.
You might be right about that. Yeah.
Well, it was a nice side plot, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
I wish there was more to it because it seemed like they were being flirty with each other, but in retrospect, you see that, you could sense the subterfuge. You knew there was something going on.
Right. I love that they save it until the very end once they have betrayed Enterprise.
Mm-hmm.
I love that they saved it until then to show us, the audience, that Malcolm knew the whole time
that he was being played.
And he was like, and Archer said something like, "Thank God you knew what frequency they were messing up." He's like, "Yeah, come on, I'm not stupid. I was watching her."
Yeah.
I love that because as you're watching the scene where she's playing him, you're like, "Oh no, you idiot, come on."
Yeah.
And then thankfully, once the betrayal happens, he was always smarter
because he's going to start thinking with his dick.
I enjoyed that because I assumed he fell for it.
It looks like that, but that's what he wanted to portray.
Yeah, and I love that. And that's the editing save. Mm-hmm. They waited until afterwards to tell us. No, they all knew.
Yeah, so that was good.
They were being safe in case. Yeah,
that was done well.
Yeah, I agree. But the two of them together did have kind of it was very reminiscent of that one episode of Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, I know what you're thinking of.
Yeah.
Wasn't it a Cardassian?
Yeah, that one.
It was O'Brien.
They had a lot more fun with it.
Yes.
more of the episode was dedicated.
She was like really into him.
She was really coming on to him. Yeah.
And he was having a hard time
I know. He was like,
because he kind of liked her, but he's like,
at first they were bickering.
Yes.
But then after a while, he's like, well, down here in these tunnels, you're kind of hot actually, and yeah.
Well, for a Cardassian.
For a Cardi.
For a Cardi.
Yeah. I know. I could not help but think of that.
Yeah.
Well,
as far as, the entirety of the episode goes, I kind of felt like I just was waiting for the other shoe to drop. They were setting us up that, the Andorians aren't necessarily supposed to be trustworthy. At least that's the way T'Pol is portraying it.
Right.
And I'm like, Shran is shown to be trustworthy so far, but, and this is something I think we were talking about at the start of the episode.
Yeah, I think I brought it up.
Which part exactly did you bring up?
It was right after T'Pol sort of challenged Archer and said, no, I'm sorry, because he talks to T'Pol after he talks to Reed, and he goes to Reed and says, "Hey, the Andorians are willing to help." Mm. And he said, "Well, I don't really want them down here. They're going to see all of our sensitive frequencies and things like that."
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, well, shouldn't Archer in that moment say, 'Hey, I feel you. Under normal circumstances, I'd agree.
Right.
But Shran has proven himself with us before, and he doesn't have to be here."
Right.
So, and I think you were like, "Yeah, but
he is there," and which is it's very uncharacteristic for them to stick their neck out unless there's something in it for them.
Yeah, and I think they were. It was definitely a tightrope act,
balancing act.
Yeah, because I'm sure the writers didn't want to
play their hand too early.
Well, no, not just that, but that they didn't want to hurt the relationship they've built between Archer and Shran by Shran's thing. So
and they played it off well.
They do. That's what I'm saying. They had to do it just right, where they make it where he's not really betraying Archer. He's following orders to help his people, but it's nothing against Archer or against the humans. It's just.
Well, I was thinking of the events that prelude.
Yeah.
What eventually will be his betrayal, which is it's betrayal. It's a begrudging betrayal,
right?
Where he comes in, sits down with Archer, and he's trying to get him to relax. It's like, come on, just have a drink with me, relax, man. It's like, come on, we're buds, and you're like, okay, he's got his guard down. You can tell it's not. He's being authentic in that moment, and Archer is like, okay, I'll drink with you.
Yeah.
So to show that whatever it is that they have, I wouldn't necessarily call it a friendship at this point. It's a respect. It's still intact.
Yeah.
They respect each other. Even they like each other, but they won't admit it.
Which is why when Archer decks him at the end,
he doesn't get up and
he just takes it because he kind of was like, please hit me.
Yeah. Because I feel bad.
Yeah. Yeah. There's I know it'll sound like I'm getting way off track here, but I'll pull it together real quick.
That's like that moment in the Empire Strikes Back.
God damn it.
Audio.
That's what I was going to say.
Oh, okay.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Okay, go ahead. You say it then.
In the audio drama from National Public Radio for The Empire Strikes Back, there's a scene.
You said that instead of NPR, but okay.
There's a scene the scene after Lando has betrayed Han and the rebels.
This scene you're referring to is not in the movie, but it's in the audio drama.
Exactly. So It's the scene where Han is then brought back after he's been tortured and Leia's tending to him. And then Lando comes in and he's like, hey, look, I'm sorry I had to do this, but I got my own problems and all that. And then Han hits him, they have their business and they leave. In the audio drama, and it is, I would say, if you're looking for it, you can read it into the movie scene itself. But in the audio drama version, Leia says, she's saying, how can we trust him now? Because he's saying, I'm going to get you out of this, basically.
After Lando had left.
Yeah, after Lando had left the room. Because Lando was basically like, I'm going to do what I can for you. I'm sorry I can't do more. And he said, he's going to try. I know he'll try whatever he can. And she goes, how can you trust him now? He says, you don't understand, Lando. He came down here to let me take that punch at him. He wanted it. He knew he deserved it, but he wanted to let me know that he's going to try to help. But he came down here to let me take the poke at him. And Shran is of a similar character where he took that hit. He wanted to get that hit and he didn't do anything other than to say, put him in a pod, because he wanted him to do it. There's a comedy version of that.
What, of that scene?
No. There's an episode of Cheers. Cheers. Stay with me. Okay. There's an episode of Cheers where, and by the way, that's that audio bit in Empire. I love that.
Oh, it's
because
great.
That's Han saying,
it's a great bit.
I know this guy, and it's a thing. And I like that. But there's this episode of Cheers where Sam's trying to get out of something. I forget what. And there's this guy that he used to play baseball with who, I don't know, I forget the machinations why the guy's in the episode. But for whatever reason, at the end, to get out of this thing with this guy that he's supposed to do, Sam has to pretend to be gay. So he goes, blah, 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 blah. And he's doing this for the benefit of everyone in the room who's watching, right? And again, I forget the setup. But the guy's like, come on, Sam, you're a ladies man. You got to come do this. And he goes, no, I'm not. I'm gay. And he goes, what? And he grabs the guy, Sam, and he plants a kiss on him and then steps back. And the guy is like floored. And he goes, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. And he goes, I have to hit you now, right? He goes, yeah, I really wish you would. And then afterwards they shake hands and he's like, all right, thanks, buddy. And they leave. But he just knows, like, after he crossed that line, he knows he has to take that hit. And he wants him to do it. It'll make him feel better for having done that.
Yeah.
And that guy, by the way, is Roga Danar. Just FYI.
Oh, in the Cheers episode.
Yeah, in the Cheers episode.
Right. Just to bring it back to Star Trek.
But I love that. I have to hit you now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really wish you would. And that was it.
No, shoot us, destroy us, but you will not ignore us.
Roga, don't, you'll be killed.
Yeah. Good episode, by the way.
Yeah.
But back to...
Yeah, sorry, man.
Proving Ground.
Keep derailing us here.
Yeah, Proving Ground. We did get a call back to, I think it was probably the last good episode that we saw, which was, I think, the shipment. Yeah.
Which,
however long ago that was.
I think we said in that, like, I know this is going to pay off later. I just don't know when.
Did we say that? Okay.
I'm pretty sure we did.
Maybe.
And yes, finally it pays off. I mean,
well, the reason why the prototype failed was because of the guy on that planet had given them bad chemosite or something like that.
Right. And Archer puts it together. He goes, oh, that's why it failed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we have an ally. We have a chance.
Mm-hmm.
This thing is delayed. And that's cool. I couldn't tell you from memory if that guy, the arboreal guy,
mm-hmm.
if like he comes back, because even Archer,
the guy that says incomparable Topa, isn't that him?
Yeah, you dishonorable Topa. I don't know. I don't know if he comes back.
I think we've asked this question before.
They played you. I mean, they made a point in the recap of showing
him
Archer say, Degra's going to come looking for you.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, don't worry about me, do your thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like they're going to bring him back, or at least it was their intention. I just don't know if he does.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've been surprised. Some good surprises so far this season, some not so good surprises so far this season.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have not been surprised by Carpenter Street or Extinction. Could have done without those surprises, but
mm-hmm.
This was a pleasant surprise. I mean, I knew we were coming into what was quote unquote a top rated episode.
Right.
So that was a good feeling going in, and it didn't disappoint. It was good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did like the ending. There was that little button on it where we go down to their war room and we see that a transmission was sent from the Andorian ship, clearly by Shran. Shran had encoded something in static or garbled something. So the high command, the Andorian high command, couldn't detect it. He's like, okay, well, clearly he is doing them a favor. Like he does, it's just another wink to the audience. Like, hey, he didn't like having to do what he had to do.
Yeah.
And he's still willing to help even if he had to, lose. And, anyway, that was nice. So the Enterprise did come out with something valuable, because after the prototype is destroyed, I started to wonder, like, what was the point of all that then? I mean, they did stop it,
right,
but they didn't get anything out of it really. But then when they got all the information that Shran had scanned, then okay, they will learn something. I don't know if it actually comes to a point. I can't remember how they stopped them.
How they stopped the Xindi?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I do not remember. The only
thing... the Xindi, do they send another weapon to Earth and it's a race to stop that weapon or something like that?
Good Lord in heaven. I wish I could tell you. From this point forward of the third season, I remember two things only. I remember the episode where Archer is in the shuttle pod with Degra and they're trying to make Degra believe that it's actually the future and that everything's fine now.
Oh, geez. I completely forgotten about that.
I remember that.
Yeah.
And actually, is that even the third season?
I remember a scene like that.
I remember.
Was it that character?
No, that I remember. I know
it
that
was
happens.
Degra.
Yeah, and it's all a trick, and they're actually in the cargo bay and they're faking being in the they're trying to get Degra to give up some information by fooling him into believing different times have passed.
Okay.
I remember that distinctly. And I remember that Degra gets shivved at the end of the season.
He does? Oh.
Yeah. One of the insectoids, a dick, just stabs him and kills him because he was sympathizing with the humans at this point. And they were like, yeah, you got to go, buddy.
Okay.
And they godfather him. Whoop-bam. He sleeps with the fishes now. That's all I remember.
Okay. Well.
Oh,
that was more than I remembered. Yeah.
I remember the bit, I think it's the next episode. Harbinger, am I right?
I don't know. You tell me.
Well, you were looking at the thing too. I thought maybe you was.
I didn't look at what's coming up next.
I think it's Harbinger. Let me look. Because if it is, I remember that, but I only remember it for one reason.
Okay, there's a fight between Hayes and Reed, because I remember you had showed me that fight.
Yeah, and that goes on.
It goes on for a long time. It's like it starts off in the cargo bay, and they're
no, there's one more, and then Harbinger.
Oh yeah, they're starting off in like a cargo bay because they're not getting along,
right?
And then Reed loses the first bout, but then the other guy Hayes walks away, and then you think it's over, but then Reed comes up behind him and yells Hayes, and then he like jump kicks him. You're like, okay, this fight's still going, and then they start duking it out in the hallway, and you're like, and they just beat the crap out of each other.
Well, if I'm right,
yeah,
I think Harbinger is also the episode where one of the Makos is a hot chick, and she's complaining about like a sore shoulder or something like that. Okay. And
Reed?
No. Oh my God.
Oh,
what
Tucker
says, "Oh, well, I know how to do like Vulcan neurotherapy. I'll help you." And they're having like this sort of semi-steamy scene, but he screws her up.
Yeah. And then T'Pol says you shouldn't do that without proper training or
she's
something.
And she gets mad, but you really know she's
jealous.
Jelly. Yeah, she's jelly about it.
Jelly. Is that what the kids say?
Yeah, that's what the kids say. But I remember that girl thinking, wow, she's really hot. Has she ever been in this before? Will she ever again? No. It was a one-off.
This needed a hot
lady
for that one.
Yeah. That's what I remember. That's it. I have no idea anything else in the season what's going to happen. Oh, that was the other thing I remembered. That I know that there's a scene in an episode, Azadi Prime, where Daniels takes Archer to the way future, where he sees a little bit of the Enterprise J.
Oh, yeah, that's
where
the season?
All the fans lost their minds.
That's the season?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where he took him away in the future to go, look, if we don't fix this, you're going to be at war with the Xindi for like generations.
Oh.
You know, where are we? We're on the Enterprise J, and it's really, really big. And that's it.
Well, I thought they were looking at it through a window.
Yeah, but like you
weren't on
see
it.
like the edge of, I want to say, the saucer out the window, but it was in the background where there was like
they were in a nebula or something.
Yeah, there was like a blueprint though of the ship, like it was not the greatest shot.
Yeah, right.
But man, they've built models based on that one.
Fans did?
Yeah, man, because they're like, that's an Enterprise, like it's important,
I guess.
Yeah, and it's like unbelievably huge. Yeah.
See, I think that goes to show like the level of fandom I'm at. I won't go that far. Like I won't build stuff like that.
I know, like there's these it's called Eagle Moss. It's a company that made these die-cast metal versions of Star Trek ships. Mm-hmm. And I collected a whole bunch of them, you know, like all the Enterprises, and they're a good size. And they're well made, but the J, they made one. That was one I said, I'm not going to buy that.
They did?
Yeah.
Oh.
And I just thought, why? Why do I need that? It doesn't actually mean anything to me. It's not like it's Kirk's Enterprise or anything like that. I was like, I had to pick somewhere to stop. And for me, that was it. That was, I don't need that.
Yeah, but you're in for a penny, in for a pound. You might as well just
Those were a lot of pennies for those.
Okay.
And I thought that was not worth it. You know, not for something that was in one episode, sort of, you know, like I don't need that. I had to draw a line somewhere.
This far, no further.
Yeah, that was it.
Well, speaking of next episodes, what is it? You didn't say.
Stratagem.
Oh, that doesn't ring any bells.
No.
Maybe we shouldn't read what it's about.
Should I not?
No, let's just go into it cold.
All right.
I don't want to know if it's good or bad.
Okay.
I don't have a feeling about this one. Usually I'll hear, if I hear a title and it's bad, it'll stay with me, and I'll like have a sinking feeling in my stomach.
The way that Wikipedia works here, it lists who wrote the teleplay, who directed it, and the story credit. Mm-hmm. The story credit, interestingly enough, is Terry Matalas, who did the last season of Picard, where the TNG cast came back.
Okay.
Just FYI.
Okay.
And Mike Sussman is listed as for the teleplay. I know he's like a good Star Trek guy, you know.
Wasn't he on this one as well that we just watched? I could have sworn I saw his name in the credits.
Oh, you might have. He just not here, but not on this. He's not listed.
Okay, well, do you want to grade this episode?
Sure.
I'll let you go first.
I'll give it an A. It's a good episode.
Really?
Yeah.
There's
nothing wrong with it. It's a solid A. It's a good episode.
I'll say A-.
I was thinking that, but I'm like, why? It's a good episode.
The minus comes in because it is in season 3 and it's part of a whole storyline.
But that's not the episode's fault.
But it can't exist by itself. I mean,
no,
it can't. But it's got a whole bunch of baggage. Yeah. And a lot of the really great ones, they're self-contained. And this one isn't. There's things you have to know going in.
I guess that's fair.
So A-.
All right.
Which isn't bad, considering the run they've been on lately. this is Oscar
like Gone
material.
With the Wind.
This is Emmy award winning. This is great. So the next one is Stratagem. Okay. Oh, was there anything else you wanted to say about Proving Ground?
I don't think so.
Anything? We didn't do any writer's room ideas on this one.
No, I was going to ask you about that, but I really thought there really isn't much to change. It's a good episode. It's. I think it's perfect. I just wish more of the season was like this. This did not resolve anything. It in fact added a new wrinkle where now they got to deal with this Andorian problem.
Right.
It kept the main plot going while giving a button to an episode and created a new problem. It's like the best kind of soap opera. Like this is what the whole season should be like. Not every bloody goddamn episode has to be about the Xindi.
Yeah.
But you should have a lot more like this than they do.
Yes.
Which is a shame.
Well, then, I mean, the way you phrase that, though, it seemed like you're okay with them not having a Xindi episode every once in a while when we've criticized certain episodes for not being part of that plot.
But that's only because so many episodes don't have to do with the Xindi plot. If that was the exception rather than the rule, and for what is this, episode 15? For like 15 episodes, how many of them have had to do with the Xindi, like in any sort of substantial way?
Have they really been that?
It feels like it.
Okay.
Like you can't have an episode like the one with, what's her name? The
Beauty and the Beast ripoff?
No.
Whatever that one was.
The slave girl that comes on and she brain screws to Paul, remember?
Oh, Regine,
right? Like, yeah, sure. She was technically connected to the Xindi plot, but like that was so obvious that they just shoehorned that in to just do that story. Yeah. They wanted to tell that story. And it could have, with like 2 cuts, had nothing to do with the Xindi. They just tangentially, is that how you say that word?
I know what word you're going for. I can't swear on it right now.
It was just minorly connected to the Xindi. I don't even consider it connected.
Well, like the Hoshi Be Our Guest episode. I mean,
exactly.
That was
what
tangentially.
Yeah.
Is that what
I feel
it is?
Like that's it.
Okay, connected to the Xindi because they said, "Oh, we're looking for something," and this guy says he has it, and then the whole episode goes by with her on the planet. They don't bring up anything related to the Xindi, and then at the very end, she says, "Oh, by the way, I got something about it." Ta-da!
Yeah, and that's
like, well, why did we watch all of that?
That's what I'm saying. They've had far too many episodes like that. Okay. That are clearly filler, So I'm yes, you can. We've talked about this. D Space Nine did it. They had the war on, but they would have a Ferengi episode and all that. You just got to do it in the right amount. That's all. And like we said, I think it was in last week's, when you do get onto the Xindi stuff, it had better be deathly serious, because the stakes are so high. You have to make the Xindi so incredibly scary. And they just do not do that. Do not do it. The Xindi fight more with each other at this point than they seem to go at the humans.
Well, maybe it's, the part of the problem lies in the fact that this whole season it's a big bad, right? Is that, for lack of a better phrase, a big bad? That's what they call it.
Bad guy, big baddie.
Well, they'll call it a big bad. Yeah. Like they do that in comic books or in other things a lot. And they did this with, I think it was not Star Trek Picard, maybe Star Trek, one of those newer ones that I don't watch. What are they called? Star Trek Discovery. That's what it is. It was like season 2 of Star Trek Discovery where they introduced like a big bad, I think. I remember the trailer introduced something like that. And I was like, oh, okay. I don't like that. Not that I watched the show, but that's what they're doing here, a big bad. And it's a cheap ploy, I think. What DS9 didn't do, because we're referring to them a lot, is they didn't have a big bad necessarily. There was so much nuance going on. It wasn't just the fact that there was going to be a war. There's the Dominion. There's the Changeling. There's there was so much going on, and you're like, it's more than just. It's not just a big bad. Right. There's no like the Xindi. There's like, it's not just the shapeshifters. It's like, well, there's the Cardassians. There's the Breen. There's a lot going on with. There's Odo, who kind of likes them sometimes, and it's like, okay,
there's so many layers.
There's just too much, and it was a feeling of just. This is a big, complicated soap opera. Yeah. And it's like this feeling of dread would loom over you. Yeah. As you knew something bad could happen, but you didn't know what exactly. There was no one thing you could point at.
Yeah. I mean, what in the cards was season 6? It was like the second to last episode before the end of the season. And
which is a lighthearted episode.
Which is a very lighthearted episode.
Which has Wei Yun in it.
Which has Wei Yun in it, which, by the way, leads to the title of our other podcast, by the way. But it, for being such a fun, goofy episode, it starts though by dramatically drawing on the war that's going on around them, by saying that Sisko is so depressed because of what's going on that his son and a guy want to do something to lift his spirits. Right. But that their motivation is entirely based on the overarching thing. So it's connected in like just the right way, you know, and you're allowed to have fun for a little bit. Yeah. And that's what the episode gives Sisko. I think he even says it. He in the button to the episode in his captain's log, he said, you know, the war is still on,
but everyone's like in a good mood.
People are still dying, but now I have a reason to smile. And you're like, yes, and you want him to, you know, and it's like, God, that's how you do it. That's how you bloody do it. And I really, really wish the makers of this season took some cues from DS9. It's a shame they didn't, because they had already done it very, very well. I would have tapped Ira Stephen Bear, be like, hey man, come in, because you've done this. Help us pave this out. You know, it's a shame. Real shame.
Well, it could be just a matter of pride too. You know, the showrunners will feel like, well, we got this. You know, we don't need that. The same way that, I mean, whatever the hell they're doing to Star Trek nowadays. I mean, those people won't take advice clearly, because they're turning out shit. Yeah. Not that I've watched any of that garbage, but I can assume it's shit. It is shit, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Save your energy. Save yourself.
Well, that's good.
Avoid Star Trek at all costs.
I was like, why are you giving a good line from a good movie? I was like, what are you talking about?
Farewell. Well.
Okay. Is there anything else you wanted to say about Proving Ground?
No, I think we're good.
Okay. Well, we did hear from Matt.
All right.
Yeah. You know, sorry, Matt, that we didn't get to your email last week. You had sent it last week. You sent it just a little. It was
like the day after.
It was a little too late. Like
the day after we recorded.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, sorry. But got it now. So Matt wrote in last week about Carpenter Street and Chosen Realm, and he wrote, wholeheartedly agree that Carpenter Street would have been better if it had been more fun. Angry Archer should have stayed on the ship, and maybe Trip could have gone instead. I think that's what we had suggested during the podcast.
I think that was your suggestion.
Was it me?
Yeah.
Yeah, they should have this.
And I said no. Position. Because it needs to be Archer.
Because it's his thing.
It's his. He's the driving anger force.
Yeah, it's his mission, more or less. Well, and I think my defense was, well, Trip lost somebody.
Yes.
And okay, anyway.
Yeah.
So continuing with Matt's email, Trip could have been the fish out of water country boy with T'Pol keeping him on task.
Totally. And I want to say maybe even we said that, like as our episode went on, we thought, well, maybe we could have had two plots going on, where one side's having fun and the other one's a little more serious. I feel like we talked about that.
Yeah, it rings a bell.
Yeah.
Either we said it during the recording or afterward. So Matt continues, Chosen Realm had some good special effects, but I found the story a retread of every other, quote, my beliefs are more valid than your beliefs, end quote, story. So Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. So
thanks, Matt.
Thanks, man. Yeah, so both some not so great episodes back to back, Carpenter Street and Chosen Realm.
Yeah.
Clearly Matt didn't feel they were really, it looks like he's trying to find the good in them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's not coming down on them too hard, which is fine. Chosen Realm, I mean, special effects, I don't even remember what they were.
The episode is like vapor.
You got me. Yeah. Well, what were their special effects? I don't know. I remember Wisp. No, I remember there was things happening in it, but I don't remember what.
I know things happened and characters talked, but that's about
People
it.
talked, and then the credits rolled, and then we talked about it at the end. That's all I remember.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear from Matt again on Proving Grounds, and if you can get to us next week before Stratagem, that would be great. We did hear from Sebastian because we were wondering what happened to Sebastian.
Yeah.
And he wrote back. So he wrote, gone for a while. Thanks for the ride. So dear Josh and Justin, a bunch of projects came in, so I won't be able to follow the podcast closely for a while. Thanks so much for the ride so far. Maybe in a few months, I'll jump back in. Let's see. All the best.
Well, we'll still be here.
We'll still be plugging away. I mean, so if we do, let's see. This was episode 13, I think. I think it was 13. 15. So that means there's 11 more episodes in the season?
Well, there's 26 generally, so.
Okay. So 13 more, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I guess so. Hold on, I'm getting there. 23.
No, it's 13. I just found.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah. So 13. Yeah, we're halfway through.
And then we have 20. How many episodes?
There's 24. I'm sorry. So
okay,
we're just a tad more.
Okay, so how many episodes are in the fourth season?
Less. It's
20.
22.
22. Okay, so
because they were cut short.
Yeah. Okay, so was it 22 plus what? How many episodes do we have left in the season? 12. 11
13 11
episodes, so that's 22, that's 30, 33 episodes altogether.
God, really? Boy, when you put it in that perspective,
that means 33 weeks. So, and how many weeks are in a year? 56. So
don't wait, stop, you're depressing me. Although I feel like I know things will get better in season 4.
Well, so we have over half a year to work on this, to keep going. So hopefully we'll still be doing this by the time you're done with your projects, and you can catch back up with us.
Yeah. I hope he definitely rejoins us for season 4. Bare minimum,
if we stay on track, we did have a hiatus because of work, but hopefully we'll stay on track, and
we won't make that mistake again. We lost.
Well, you know what? Audience. It's been difficult to get Justin to record, and it's admittedly it can be difficult because, sometimes schedules don't line up, but Justin is like, I got to twist his arm. We got to record this episode, man. I don't want to, man.
Like what? You bailing on
like
me?
It's so, all the episodes suck. It's like, I know, but we started on this.
I know.
I was like, fine, let's just do it now. And I'm like, well, now I got to record it when you're in a bad mood.
I'll definitely be peppier as the season rounds out and we're going into 4, because I know 4 is better. So I'm looking forward to that.
Unless, we get into 4 and you're disappointed with that.
God, I hope it doesn't happen.
I hope not. Well, thanks for writing in, Sebastian, letting us know how you were. I hope your projects go well, and you'll be able to write in soon and tell us about it.
Mm-hmm.
And to, again, write in about the episodes. Always love reading your emails about that. And Matt, please, we'd like to hear from you again. And anybody else, please do. Our email address is podcastnx01@gmail.com. Write us about show thoughts about us, or about the episodes coming up, or about a past episode. That's fine. Or any ideas for the show that you want to throw out. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, that'd be great too.
Yeah.
So Stratagem.
Well,
whatever the heck that is, I'll see you next week when we watch that.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.